And thank you to Mark and his team for inviting me to be with you here this morning. I hope to talk to you about some of the traps that we all fall into when we make decisions and give you some solutions, some techniques for improving the way you make decisions. How do you work with your team to make high-quality choices in an environment of turbulence, ambiguity, and uncertainty? You've all seen the game show or heard about the game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you know that on the show, if you're in the so-called hot seat, you can reach for assistance if you don't know the answer. They call them lifelines. Now, there's two such lifelines that I'd like to talk about this morning. The first is asking the audience, right? Everyone in the audience on the game show has a little clicker in their hand or at their seat, and they can vote as to which of the 4 multiple choice responses they believe is the right answer. You as the contestant see the results, just like Poll Everywhere, but you don't have to go with what the audience has said. That's simply there for you as advice and counsel. Now you have another lifeline at your disposal. You could phone a friend, a trusted confidant that you've arranged to speak to in advance. You have 30 seconds to consult with them and to see what they think. The question is, if you're in the hot seat, what would you do? The question, who was the 21st president of the United States? Do you phone a friend or do you ask the audience? Quick show of hands, how many people are phoning a friend? Wow, most of you are asking the audience. Have you met the average American? Do you know their understanding of history? Actually, what percentage of the time do you think the top vote-getting response is the correct answer on that show? What do you think? What percentage of the time? 1/3 of the time. What do you think, Nathan? 15. Wow. So you're phoning a friend. You got a very low. Anybody got a higher estimate over here? What percentage of the time do you think the top vote-getting response is the correct answer? What do you think? Give me a number. It's much higher, you think, right? 70%. The actual answer is 91% of the time. Wow, 91% of the time. That's a phenomenon known as the wisdom of crowds. Right? The wisdom of crowds, meaning if you gather a large enough, diverse enough group of people, like the folks assembled in this ballroom, and you ask them, right? We're not saying 91% of you know the answer. What we're saying is a plurality of you will know the answer and will give the contestant good advice and counsel. Asking the audience is the right strategy. Pretty amazing. The wisdom, it's why people now, companies now employ strategies such as crowdsourcing. Right? Very effective. But what if we gathered those people in this room and rather than giving them a clicker, we asked them to deliberate and try to reach consensus? Would they be right 91% of the time? I see a lot of people shaking their head no. Collaboration makes them dumber? I thought we lived in a world where collaboration and teamwork was a good thing. What happens? What happens when we put people in a group? The answer is influence, right? The reason the wisdom of crowds can be effective at times is because people are making independent judgments and voting. But when we put people in a group, it's hard for us to admit this, but we lose our independence. We are swayed and influenced by others around us, and not always in the right direction. Sometimes groups are swayed by the most senior person in the room, the person who is most charismatic or persuasive, the person who carries influence because they're an expert on a topic, right? And so we lose our independence. As a result, sometimes groups veer off in the wrong direction, and we don't actually capture the wisdom of the crowd. To understand how influence works, I want to take you back to a television show from your childhood, or for some of you, maybe before your childhood. Black and white clip I'm going to show you from an old show called Candid Camera. Candid Camera, they would go out into the world and play practical jokes on unsuspecting individuals and film them. Totally illegal, but hey, in an era of WikiLeaks, you know, it's okay, I guess. And what we're going to watch here is a little clip of a practical joke they played on a poor gentleman in an elevator. And then they play it again on another gentleman. Let's take a look.
Is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before.
So, influence, right? Pretty amazing. And if you don't think that would happen to you, I would ask you to think again. Right? Think again. So I have a question for you. We're going to use the